So then guys, this is a day I've been really looking forward to here. We have here the brand new Samsung Galaxy 4 Edge, and it has inside of it a Snapdragon Elite X inside of it, and we're going to compare it or do a versus to the MacBook Pro M3 that we have right here. I've decided to compare these two models with their features because I believe that the Samsung Galaxy Book 4 Edge is probably more closer to a MacBook Pro than say a MacBook Air with an M3 inside of it, and also the price too is a little bit more closer towards that end as well. And the other question you might be asking is, well, why not just do say a Surface Book with a 13.6-inch display? Well, again, I don't think, in my opinion, for this testing that's fair either, because both of these are essentially a 14-inch display. We have a 14-inch display here and a 14.2-inch display, and I think that's a bit more closer there to do a comparison. So that's why I've decided to do both of these models. And at the end of the day, we always say that Apple's biggest rival out there is Samsung, and they make Windows and they also make Android phones. So I thought, why not? Let's do it this way. So first of all, the unboxing. So the Samsung came in a lovely white box, as we can see here. It's got lots of logos, descriptions and things like that. It was really easy just to tear open. They're going the same approach like Apple, having no sort of plastics inside. We actually have the Galaxy Book 4 Edge here, but I'm just going to move it out of the way. Let's see what else is inside the box. So we've also got the USB-C to USB-C power supply, and I also have my UK power brick too. Then let's now look inside. Then there's packaging here, slide it out, and there we have it. This is the Galaxy Book 4 Edge, and it is beautiful. And I think the best sort of thing we can do right now is actually just do a comparison of looks here of the MacBook Pro with the M3 to the Galaxy Book. So let's have a look here, starting out with the Galaxy Book 4. Overall, the design of the Galaxy Book is beautiful. It is really nice and slick. It's an all-metal design here, by the way, what you've got here. And I do really like it. Probably the only thing I probably don't like too much is probably the chin here on the bottom of the screen, but that's about it. But then compared to the MacBook Pro, yeah, I do really love this design too. I love the full-out black keyboard and everything. And obviously, I would say that this MacBook Pro obviously is a bit more thicker as well in its all-metal design too. The Samsung's weight is just 1.16 kilograms, what is about 2.5 pounds and thereabouts. Whereas the M3 MacBook Pro, well, that is 1.55 kilograms, or that's about 3.4 pounds. So yeah, that is considerably more heavier than what we've got right here with the Snapdragon, the Samsung model that we have right here. So yeah, definitely do consider that the MacBook Pro is a heavier model. But for the display, what we actually have here is a 3K OLED screen with 242 pixels per inch at 14-inch on the Samsung. The MacBook also has a 3K mini LED display, but obviously this is a 14.2-inch display, and this has got 254 pixels per inch. Both screens also go up to 120Hz refresh rates too. Overall, I would say though, for design wise and for the actual beauty of the screen, it is very close. But I am going to say this, even though I'm a big Mac fan, the OLED display just shines so well here. It is absolutely amazing. And like I said, with the iPad Pros, for example, with the OLED displays on there compared to the mini LED, you can see the difference, and it is a beautiful display. And I'm afraid to say, even though maybe the pixels per inch are slightly less here on this OLED display on the Samsung, it is better than what we have with the M3 MacBook Pro with the mini LED display. And also, like I said, the design is thinner, a bit more sleek and lighter too. So I am going to have to win, say, design and the actual screen over to Samsung on this one. One other thing to mention about the Samsung over what the MacBook does not have, and that is it does also have a touchscreen too, if you want to use that. But moving on to the ports then on both of these models, and let's talk about the Samsung first of all. What we have here on the side is a HDMI port, 2.1 port, and we also had a headphone and microphone port here. But on the other side, we only have two USB 4.0 ports too. And do remember that you would have to use one of those USB-C ports for charging if need be. The MacBook Pro with the M3 though, on the other hand, that's a bit of a different story though. This also has a HDMI 2.1 port, but this also has two USB 4.0 ports, and also it has Thunderbolt 4 inside. inside of this, headphone and microphone port, and also has a dedicated MagSafe port for charging, and then there's also the SD card slot too. For me, I'm going to say that the MacBook Pro definitely wins here. Obviously, you've got that dedicated MagSafe port, which is really, really good. It frees up the 2 other USB-C ports, and then also having that SD card, yeah, it's really handy, especially like I'm a creator. This is super handy. I don't need to plug in dongles and things like this. What I will mention is though, if you did get the 16-inch version of this model, you get an extra USB-A port on the Samsung, and you also get a micro SD port too, but on the 14-inch, you don't get both of those different ports there. Moving on to storage, the MacBook Pro has its NAND storage chip soldered on, and it has done this for about the last sort of 8 years or so there's no easy upgrades here unless you get a soldering iron out and you're really, really good with it. The Samsung though, on the other hand, has one of these inside of it. This here is an NVMe storage, and you can actually upgrade the storage inside of this Samsung Galaxy Book 4. And you can actually upgrade it all the way up to 4 terabytes if you wanted to do that. So you can go on Amazon, buy one of these, upgrade it, do the kind of sort of repair tool and Windows, download the image again, and you can actually keep on using this on your new Samsung, and you've actually got a bigger amount of storage there. So this easily allows you to upgrade from 512 gigabytes all the way up to 4 terabytes, where we've only got 512 gigabytes as your base storage. And if you did want a bigger amount of storage in the MacBook, you have to configure that right at the beginning when you're going to buy it. Or like I said, you've got to be super good with a soldering iron, but that's a story for another day. But I think the main thing here, I'm going to say for storage wise, yeah, the Samsung wins hands down here. Windows wins hands down here, that you can actually do that upgrade at least with storage. So next of all, let's do the specs of the machine. System or chip or SoC. And to be honest, this is a tricky one, because essentially what you're doing an apples to sort of a dragon comparison. That's the best way I can say this. You don't get the kind of same flavors here with sort of the chipset speeds and all of this. It's really, really tricky to do that, and I am going to admit that right now, and that's why I picked, say, the M3 MacBook Pro, because I think this is the closest to this laptop. Whether you disagree with me or not, that's a different thing, because at the end of the day, you could say, we'll use the MacBook Air, but obviously that doesn't have the mini LED display or the 120Hz ProMotion display on it, has less ports and things like this. It's far cheaper than this machine. It's very, very difficult. And the other thing you could say is, well, Matt, you should compare the M3 Pro because, you know, the Snapdragon Plus is more likely like the M3 than the Elite X. And again, it's really, really tricky here because, like I said, this, you know, the M3 Pro is way more expensive than the M3, and this would be far cheaper. And again, it just wouldn't be a fair comparison. To me, this is the fairest I can do this in these specs. So yeah, what I'd say is please just respect that, because this is the best I can actually do here. Because like I said, I don't think we have a full orange to orange comparison. It is an apple to dragon comparison that we have here. But without further ado, let's talk about the specs that we have inside of this Samsung laptop. So the Samsung SoC inside of this is a Snapdragon X Elite X1E 8100. So that means the CPU part is clocked at 3.4 gigahertz. It's also got a boost as well, but there's 12 cores inside of it. There's 8 performance cores, and there's also 4 E-cores or 4 efficiency cores. I cannot find out how many GPU cores are in this chipset, but all I do know, it gives out 3.8 teraflops of performance with its Adreno GPU, and also we have the 16 gigabytes of DDR5X RAM inside of this too. And this is shared across the CPU, the GPU, and the NPU. And talk about the NPU, what's doing all that AI bits and pieces. This can do 45 trillion operations per second. But then moving over to the M3 that we have here, and I know you're going to say, well, the M4 is out, but I'm doing a laptop to MacBook comparison. We do not have an M4 MacBook just yet, so, you know, I can't do that comparison, and I don't think it's fair to compare an iPad to this laptop. I just don't think that's fair at all here to do that, so I'm going to stick for the moment with the M3, even though I know the M4 is out in iPads, and maybe later in the year we'll do a comparison with the M4 MacBooks towards Snapdragon sort of laptops that are out at that time. But for the moment, let's talk about then the M3, what we get with that. What we have inside of here is actually 8 gigabytes of DDR5X RAM as the baseline, and this is shared across the GPU, CPU, and the NPU. For the actual CPU part, it has 4 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. It also has a 10-core GPU, and although the pure FP32 raw graphics performance is 3.5 teraflops, what has not really changed compared to, say, the Apple M2 SoC that came out, the Apple M3 achieves really better better or far better frame rates in practice with its actual graphics, and this is because of the neural engine of the M3 with its NPU, what gives us 35 trillion operations per second, and it also contributes to this graphics to upscale and also make a better job of, say, ray tracing and things like this. But I think at this stage, the best thing to do, even though I've just thrown all those specs at you there, all you want to see out there is what the benchmarks are. So let's now check out the benchmarks. And first of all, we're going to do a good old-fashioned Geekbench single core and multi-core score. So let's have a look right here. Now, one thing what I have done on the Snapdragon just quickly before doing any of the sort of testing and benchmarks, I've actually adjusted here the power settings here. So I've actually made them now the minimum amount of power on the processor, not to be 40%, but now 100% on battery and also on power here. So this gives us the full power. And I don't think a lot of people have been doing this when they've been running the benchmarks. You need to do this to actually max out the chipsets here, the SoC here. So yeah, make sure if you are going to do any benchmarking, this is the best way to do it, is do it on this test, because obviously if you turn that down, you're not going to get the right performance. And this is why possibly that some of my scores might be higher than other people, because I haven't done this. So yeah, just be aware of that. Now, as I'm just setting up Geekbench 6 here on this Snapdragon laptop, one thing I would say is this is probably running in Prism, and Prism is the x86 emulator, very similar to Rosetta 2, what we have on a MacBook to run old sort of Intel sort of apps. This is the same idea here with Prism. It's to run x86 or AMD Intel kind of apps, as it were, on a ARM chip like the Snapdragon Elite X that we have right here. But let's have a look then to see what that does to the scores then. So here we are, here's the score sheet then of Geekbench 6 single core and multi-core scores. So with an 8-core M3 MacBook Pro at 4.05 gigahertz here, single bench sort of Geekbench scores 3021, whereas the multi-core, whatever you want to call it, is 11,566. Whereas the 12-core Snapdragon, so there is more of them here, the Elite X at 3.4 gigahertz, gives us a single core of 2,753, and then obviously the multi-core performance is 14,151. The other thing what I've decided to do here is I've decided to do a Geekbench machine learning benchmark here. And this is testing out the actual main NPU or the neural engine on both of these. So obviously then with the MacBook Pro with the M3 gives us a score of 2,351, whereas with the 12-core Snapdragon Elite X it gives us 2,384. This is pretty much neck and neck here. The machine learning capabilities are about the same, but like I have said already, we are running this on Prism. We haven't got a native Geekbench app yet, I don't think, for Geekbench. You know, if I'm wrong here, put it down in the comments below. My mistake. Then that means these scores are more accurate. But that's what I believe at the moment, but I could be wrong there. But yeah, just be aware of that. Moving along then is Cinebench again. Same thing again, Prism scores definitely on this. And I don't think actually there's a Cinebench official ARM version either the last time I checked. So this is going to be interesting here. So yeah, we've got 1,892 for single core performance on that M3 and 10,394 on the multi-core performance. And then for the actual Snapdragon, it was 1,738 by 13,487 on multi-core performance. What I can conclude here then, looking back at the Geekbench score and then flicking back to the Cinebench one here, definitely the multi-core performance is better on the Snapdragon, but the main reason behind that is all to do with turning up the power, like I said, what I did there at the beginning of the shot, and then obviously that gave us that extra power in the processor. And I do also think that obviously having 12 cores over 8 cores, yeah, that's going to be a big benefit too. So next of all, what I've decided to do is I've decided to do some graphic benchmarking. And I think the best thing we can do is 3D Mark, and we can do a Wildlife Extreme on the MacBook and also on the Snapdragon, as you can see right here. And then obviously this ran quite smoothly, and let's have a look at the results then. So with the MacBook Pro with the M3, it gave us a score of 8,284, whereas the 12-core Snapdragon, this gave us 6,260. So this was quite a bit bit less here. So then guys, just quickly then, if you've liked all of these scores that we're seeing here with say the M3 MacBook Pro, the great thing is I'm actually giving away a MacBook Pro with an M3 inside of it. And I'm going to be giving this away to one lucky subscriber on this channel in just a couple of weeks time at the end of June time. And you still have time to enter in. So if you want to enter into this giveaway, it's really easy to do so. You just need to be a subscriber on this channel and just put down in the comments below of what Apple gear or technology gear you're hoping to get in 2024. Put it down in the comments below right now. And also guys, like I said, I'm going to be making an announcement at the end of June time of when we're going to be doing the live stream for this MacBook Pro. So what I would say is guys, make sure that you've subscribed to this channel and also hit that notification bell because you won't want to miss out on that announcement because there will be a little form to fill in too and things like this, so you won't want to miss out on that. But let me just tell you about the specs of this MacBook Pro that we're giving away. So it's a bit different to this one here. This one actually has 16 gigabytes of RAM inside of it, whereas this one's only got 8 gigabytes, so this could be a better machine for you. It's also got 512 gigabytes of storage, and it's also got the normal M3 inside of it. And like I said, I'm going to be giving it away on this international giveaway to one lucky subscriber on this channel. The other thing I just want to quickly say though guys, sadly there's lots of scammers and spammers out there, people still impersonating me still and telling you to Telegram or WhatsApp, part with money for postage and all these bad things too, so please do ignore them, or better still, as you can see right here, please do report them. So next of all, what I've decided to do, I've decided to play a couple of games. So I've done a load of games that I'm going to be testing. Here's one of them now. It's going to be Cyberpunk. And obviously what I've been running here, as you can see right here, we're running the benchmarking kind of tools on this. And I've ran this on a few other apps too. And what I will say is that I've done actually crossover for some of these games. And then we can see here with the score with the 8-core M3 MacBook Pro, we can see that GTA 5 gives us with crossover 92 frames per second, Cyberpunk 37, Horizon Zero Dawn on PC or with crossover 33, but Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I did this with the native Mac version, this wasn't using crossover, it gave us 98 frames per second. But then if we move over to the 12-core Snapdragon Elite X, then obviously this is all running through Prism, it's all emulated, it's translating ARM to 86 or x86 back to ARM, and GTA 5 only gave us 84 frames per second, and then Cyberpunk we got 32 frames per second, Horizon Zero Dawn gave us 28 frames per second, and Rise of the Tomb Raider gave us 72 frames per second. And like I do say guys, this is running on Prism, this is not any kind of sort of ARM made versions of the game yet. Maybe that will change things in the future when we actually get ARM versions of games. Maybe we'll get far better frames per second, but at the moment just using that translator Prism, this is what you're going to get then with the Snapdragon Elite X at this stage. The next question you're probably wondering then is, what about battery life on both of these machines? Well, the MacBook Pro with the M3 inside of it, they claim, or Apple claims, up to 22 hours of battery life. And funny enough, Snapdragon or Windows or Samsung, they claim exactly the same, 22 hours of battery life. Now, what I would say is obviously the comparison how that's done is with the brightness of the screens and things like this and the loudness, they are a bit different there. But what I would say is I would personally say that probably the Snapdragon would get a little less battery than what the MacBook Pro will get, because obviously the basis of what they do their benchmarks on are far less than what they do on these MacBooks here. But overall, I would still expect say 20 hours battery life. And what you've got to remember, what I spoke about earlier on the video, this is almost half the weight of this MacBook Pro, and yet it's still giving you a very close battery sort of life to this machine. And in fact, I will be making a video soon doing a battery drain test of both these models to actually see, you know, which one would drain the fastest here. So yeah, that would be really, really good and interesting to see. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell if you want to check out that video when it comes down the line. But next of all, what you're probably wanting to know is, well, what kind of AI tasks can we do on Windows? So then what I can do is then I can press the CoPilot button on my keyboard here to do some of those AI bits and pieces. So let's just ask it a question. I'm going off to Disney World later on in the summer, but let's just ask it a question about that. So for example, I could say, could you make me a 14-day itinerary at Disney World? And then obviously it will think about that. Now, it does take a few seconds.
Sure, I'd be happy to help with your Disney World itinerary. To tailor it to your preferences, could you tell me a bit more about your trip?
And look
For
at that.
example,
So you can ask questions
are there any
back.
specific parks or attractions you definitely want to visit? Do you have any rest days planned? Are there any dining experiences or shows you're interested in? Will there be children in your party, and if so, what are their ages?
I'm looking to go to the Animal Kingdom first of all. Let's see what the reply is back to
Great
that.
choice. Animal Kingdom is a fantastic park. Here's a basic structure for the first few days of your Disney World itinerary. Day 1. Start your adventure at Animal Kingdom. Make sure to visit Pandora, the world of Avatar, and try the Avatar Flight of Passage ride.
I think we get the idea here. It's done a couple of days of Animal Kingdom. It's recommended me rides there to go to and shows. It's absolutely amazing here, this AI talking to it. So yeah, that is brilliant with CoPilot, what we have there. The other thing I can do is I've got like the image creator here, the co-creator. So what I can actually do here is I can go to the co-creator tool here, and let's just say if I wanted to draw myself a house, it's on a hill here. So if I just drew like this, oh, it's not the best house, is it? There we go, I've made a mistake already, but let's just say that. Let's now do some windows. Not the best windows. Do you like my weird windows? They're cool, aren't they? But this is where it gets interesting, because obviously I'm being a bit more creative here, as it were. I'm going to do a little door there. And let me just tell what this is. I'm going to tell them this is a house. And then what happens is, based on this picture now, what can happen is co-creator can actually make a house for me. And then obviously with the creativity, look at that, it's done one already here. So actually I'm going to change it to say house on hill, because that's what actually it is. It's house on a hill. And look, even if I scale this right down, we'll go back to kind of like a basic image that I've got right here. So there we go, see, much more basic. And if I turned it up just a little bit there, obviously it would tune that picture a bit more on creativity. There we go, you can see it's trying to do more things here. Look at that, it's on a hill there. And what I can also do is I can even change the style. So say, let's say I wanted it in an oil painting. So we're going to change it over to an oil painting, and let's see what it does there. There we go. My house is on a hill on an oil painting. And that's how cool this really is. There is also that brand new recall option where some people love it, some people hate it. And to be deadly honest, because this is a brand new laptop that I've got here, I don't have enough history yet to actually do the recall feature. To be deadly honest, when I was actually installing this and doing all the updates and things like that on it and firmware updates, even the Windows sort of update said that the recall option was coming further down the line. So it does definitely look like that Windows have pulled this back, and basically, yeah, it will be coming down the line. It could be a bit more safer if you want to use it further down the line. So we'll have to test that on another day, I definitely think there. But overall, this Snapdragon inside of this laptop is brilliant. I think the best thing for me I love is the lightness of it, is how light it is, the portability, the screen is awesome, and the battery life. And overall, the kind of performance that you get out of this is really good. And those AI tasks, they are really good. And all I can say is it can only get better. It's up to Windows now to fully utilize that Snapdragon X inside of this, or the Snapdragon X Elite. And it's the same here with Apple. We know that Apple Intelligence is coming down the line later on this year, and we can do a more full comparison of AI sort of comparisons between both of these later then, because at the moment, at the time making this video, there isn't any kind of Apple Intelligence out. It's been announced, but we haven't got our hands on it yet. We cannot get it on betas yet on macOS Sequoia, so we're just gonna have to wait a little bit longer on that. But at the moment, things are looking quite bright for Windows, I will say that. But there again, things look quite bright for Mac too with Apple Intelligence. And we're just going to have to see then soon into the future what that's going to bring us. But with that go, guys, it's time to wrap up this video. What do you think of the Snapdragon X Elite inside of this laptop that we have here? Is it something you're going to consider getting? Are you going to own, say, both of these machines? Or are you just going to stick to Mac all the time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And also, guys, it's time to wrap up the video, like I said. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button. Also, if you want to hear the latest Apple news, reviews and comparisons like we've done today, make sure you subscribe to this channel and also hit that notification bell too. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.